Humans, also known as Homo sapiens, have been in existence for several thousands of years. Anatomically, modern humans originated in Africa about 200,000 years ago, reaching full behavioral modernity around 50,000 years ago. Humans have evolved from everything from their skull size to their basic instincts. Humans are now able to create complex social structures composed of many cooperating and complex groups. In this video, we will dive into human evolution. Human evolution is a contentious subject. Unfortunately, the discussion is centered more on opinions than the facts we can see in the fossil record. Since humans tend to live in large groups, why have so few fossils been found? Most of the speculation on human evolution is based on small, ape-like fossils called Australopithecines. The famous fossil Lucy, discovered in Ethiopia in 1972, is a part of this group. Another fossil group is the archaic Homo sapiens, or Neanderthals. While these fossils may appear to be ancient humans, we must remember that all primates existed at the same time. Humans, Australopithecines, and Neanderthals all lived on Earth simultaneously. Therefore, these other fossil groups cannot be our ancestral line. For example, Lucy and other Australopithecines were said to walk upright, leading to the conclusion that they were human ancestors. However, they had curled toes and same knuckle-walking anatomy as chimpanzees and gorillas. Also, the shape of their ear canals and their long curved fingers and toes show that they could not have walked upright. Footprints were found in Latoli, Tanzania, that were supposedly made by Australopithecines. However, Dr. Russell Tuttle concluded that the prints from Latoli are identical to those made by humans who habitually walk barefoot. Considering that the Australopithecines lived at the same time, it is logical to conclude that humans made the prints. There is no evidence that Lucy and her kind were not simply apes. Lucy's status in the human ancestral line is based on an arm-to-leg length ratios that are midway between those of apes and humans. However, the bones available for study are so fragmented that this ratio cannot be properly measured. Lucy's hip is ape-like, not like a human hip. To argue this, scientists claim that the Lucy's hip is distorted from its original shape. However, no one can prove this, as there is no undistorted hip to compare it with. Also, the knee in the Lucy's fossil is used to prove that Australopithecines walked upright, but it's not even found with Lucy. The Neanderthal fossil is simply a human fossil. It has a brain capacity larger than that of humans today. The fossils show evidence of bone deformity preceded by rickets. Any human who is aged and/or diseased will have the hunched posture and bone features that Neanderthals used to have. Molecular evidence also supports the notion of human evolution. Science Daily released an article addressing molecular evidence that supports a key part of Darwin's evolutionary theory. A non-Darwin explanation from believers of intelligent design proposed these complex machines to be irreducibly complex. In other words, they are so neatly complex and complete that they couldn't have evolved, but rather must have been designed by an intelligent entity. As a model system, the research focused on one specific molecular machine, the TIM complex, which transports proteins into mitochondria. Mitochondria are a compartment of human cells that serve as the energy-producing powerhouse. At a very early stage in evolution, mitochondria were derived from bacteria that lived within the first eukaryotic cells. One of the most fundamental and notable series of mutations that occurred in apes are those that led to the development of the modern human brain. A series of mutations in the ape gave them smaller cheekbones, a loss of the sagittal crest, which is a part of the skull that attaches temporal muscle, which is used for chewing, and the atrophy of the mesentery and temporal muscles. The loss of this muscle system made it very difficult to eat tough, fibrous plants, foods like other apes did. To survive, these mutated apes had to eat softer, higher quality meals that regularly included meat to be able to survive with this mutation. Very early humans even cooked seemingly inedible food to make it edible, and this food was very nourishing. The fact that they were forced to eat higher quality, wider variety of food caused them to survive better than other apes because they were well nourished. The strong temporal muscle in the apes caused their skull plates to fuse at an early age. Because this extremely strong muscle uses these plates as an anchor and pulls the plates together, this action inhibits the brain from growing for an extended period in apes. The lack of strong temporal let the mutated ape grow in a larger brain, thus increasing its intelligence. This was a benefit because these apes could learn to use tools, gather food, better ways to survive in their environment. These apes lived on a higher rate than those apes that didn't have the mutation, and these apes with this mutation passed this trait on to its offspring and they thrived. The selective pressure is a wide range of needs such as shelter, food, and other survival skills. The larger brain of our common ancestor let him highly succeed under the selective pressure. As you can see, there are many mutations in the skull shape that eventually led to the mutated ape of the modern human. One ancestor of the human had a mutation in the hand that gave it a significant increase in dexterity. The thumb could now touch every other finger on the hand and had extraordinary grasping strength. This mutation caused this ancestor to be able to use the tools it can make with its improved brain better than apes without the opposable thumb. The individual could make better shelter, tools, and be able to perform day-to-day activities that we today take for granted. The selective pressure in this situation favors the organisms that can use materials in its environment to improve the chances of survival and live a high-quality lifestyle. The knowledge of evolution can be applied in these areas of medicine and healthcare, for example. New applications of evolution, biology, and medicine are being discovered at an accelerating rate. 150 years after publication of Darwin's On the Origin of Species, one might expect that medication would already have made full use of evolution biology. This is actually false. New applications of evolution biology to medical problems are being discovered at an accelerating rate. Several sources contribute to the recent flowering of evolutionary approaches in medicine. The first is that the basic science of evolution biology continues at a rapid development, building on a stable foundation of Darwin's theory of natural selection. Genetic variants carried by individuals who reproduce more than others tend to increase in frequency over the generations, thus shifting the genetic makeup and mean phenotype of the population to be more like them and generally better adapted for the environment. The role of natural selection in shaping living organisms has been empirically confirmed beyond dispute. Selection is by no means the only factor. However, mutations or DNA inevitable is damaged by radiation and toxins, and replication is not perfect. Other random events are also important. Genetic drift can push neutral or even deleterious alleles to high frequency, whereas a storm might eliminate all individuals with a useful mutation. Population bottlenecks, inbreeding, and migrations also shape gene frequencies, which in turn influences the distribution of phenotype. Natural selection and these other evolutionary mechanisms change species and, equally important, keep them the same via stabilizing selection that disfavors individuals with extreme traits. The knowledge of evolution can also be connected to my life. Learning more about human evolution can offer conflict with beliefs that have been taught to me through religious-based texts. The idea of humans coming at an instant conflicts with the basic principle of evolution, which is that humans today come from a more primitive animal. With more knowledge of evolution, people can determine where they stand on the conflict between science and religion. Thank you.